All right, welcome to a Bragging Rights Army Showcase. Today I'm going to be showing off my 10mm Pyrrhic forces. This is an army that I painted specifically to play 10mm Kings of War and Hail Caesar. And really soon after starting painting this, a friend and I gave To the Strongest a try. And this merged into really being focused on To the Strongest at about the halfway point for the army. So let me jump in and just start showing off some units. So I'll start with mainstay of any Pyrrhic force. Here are some Epirot Phalangites. Like all of my 10mm, I tend to try for a 80mm frontage standard. I use typically 3 rows to denote deep, although I later changed to a standard of deep units being actually deeper bases. This is before I started that standard when everything was on a 40 at this period. I threw in a banner there with the Pyrrhic symbol. Maybe would not have been appropriate, but these are the old line of Pendraken Phalanx, where I think there's 3 or 4 sculpts that come in those packs. There's got to be 4 sculpts that come in those packs, and there's different helmet styles and different standing styles. And I use the ones with the Thracian style helms as my Epirotes and Macedonians, as you'll see coming up, and I use a couple of the other sculpts as my Ptolemaics. And I also mixed in, and those come open hand, which is nice because you put in these wire pikes. I really am not a fan of Magister Militum's pikes, but I love Magister Militum's little command models, so I threw a couple of those in there. So let's continue with this kind of central command and throw some more stuff down here for them. Here's the Macedonian elite phalanx. These would be Macedonian veterans. I think Demetrius gave these to Pyrrhus on loan to get him to leave Macedon, if I remember correctly. These are the same sculpt as the Epirot Phalanx. I just have them painted a little differently, just so they show up a little differently on the table. Again, a mix of Magister and Pendraken. Following along with troops from northern Greek areas, we have here, I plays a few things. They typically are Epirot elite cavalry, although they really could be prodromoi. They could also be Thessalian or Thracian cavalry, but here they are elite Epirot cav. And sometimes I've got them led by Megacles, who would have been Pyrrhus's friend and sometimes stunt double. Speaking of Pyrrhus, here are his companions. I chose purple cloth, a little bit of this kind of turquoise blue that I love and I put in a lot of my armies, and then dun colored cloaks. And these dun colored cloaks I think are a reference from Plutarch in the Life of Pyrrhus. I believe he describes his companions as wearing dun colored cloaks. Dun is that color. So that's how I painted them up. These are, and I should say, these figures here are from Pendraken's old line. They don't make them anymore, which is a shame because I really love these, other than the fact they're monosculpt. And since they're monosculpt, I fit in here an Old Glory commander model just to try to break it up visually a little bit. These are actually from Newline with a few Magister command models in there. Again, Magister is really great at command. He's wearing horsehair tasseled Boeotian helms, and these are companions for Newline Designs. Newline's pretty low on detail, but so they're not really that fun to paint, but they have a lot of options that I find historically accurate and relevant, so I do buy a lot of their stuff as a result. And let me show one more from the kind of central core here. These are the, picked men. I think Logades or I think it's Logades would be the word for picked men. think of them as like, well, the way I feel them as they're playing like a hypaspist role. They're wearing the Thracian helm, like I have a standard for my 2 units of pikemen and the linothorax. So if you look at them, you're saying, oh, okay, looks just like the upper pikemen, only they have javelins or short spears. And that's intentional because I think that the picked men from the Phalanx would have operated as lighter troops in sieges or assaults or raids or things like that. So that's the way I painted them, and that's the way I field them. The To the Strongest rule set doesn't allow me to do that. I put up quite a fight to try to get it to happen. It didn't, but that's okay. I still field them that way when I play. And these are, again, Newline models, and I think these ones are exclusively Newline. Yeah, these are all Newline, including the command. There's like a little, there's a banner, a commander, and a musician over there. Okay, let me move on to another command within the army. Let's get these out of here. This is before I started using movement trays, so these are all just kind of individually based. Takes a little longer to get them in and off shot. Okay, so now let's go to southern Italy. Paris lands, goes to Tarentum, trains up a phalanx. This is that phalanx. Let's bring them into shot. So I used different models here, and I had problems sourcing some models about halfway through this, so I ended up switching manufacturers. I think the look is still, semi-coherent though. So these are, let's see, a lot of different stuff in here. These are, none of them are pikemen models. These were all javelin men models, and they are all Italian tribe models. This base is all Pendraken Italian allies from the Roman range, and this base over here is Old Glory Italian allies from the Punic Wars range. I snipped off the javelins in both sides of troops, and then I drilled down to mount these pikes. I painted them with white shields, as I believe the Tarentines are described as Lucas Bides, which I'm going to bring up again. It's going to be relevant in a moment. And I wanted them to be a little more colorful. I don't think there's anything historical about it. I just thought it'd be cool to add a little more color. So I painted them. Some of them have, many of them have bronze chest plates. And then they have these this different color pattern of reds, yellow, and blue. So real primary colors for the units, which I carry throughout all my Tarentine stuff because I try to have visual distinction. Got a little dolphin there. I personally associate dolphins with Tarentum. I think they had a coin with a dolphin on it because in Herodotus there's a myth or a legend, I believe, about a guy who's captured. I'm going to get the details wrong, but he's captured in some of the wars between Spartan and Athenian allies, and he has this weird scene where I believe he was a musician. He says he wants to sing, says he wants to jump overboard. He's been captured. They're going to execute him. He jumps overboard, and then he rides a dolphin to Tarentum. I'm messing up the details, but it's just a ridiculous story in Herodotus, and I was reading that, and I said, okay, I'm going to put a dolphin on the banner. That was many years ago, so I'm getting the details wrong. Command models. Got this twin flautist from Magister, which I love and I use all over the place. This is a kind of iconic Spartan. I think there's like a small sculpture figurine of a Spartan Locagos, and that's him, and that's made by Pendraken. And then Pendraken also has this command model here with the banner, which I threw in as well. Okay, so more Tarentines. So can't have Tarentum without Tarentine cavalry. This is from Magister Militum's range. I use these particular ones I use as my Tarentine cavalry formed up. I don't field them as lights. I field them as a little larger than usual. I use the same models to be my companion cavalry in my Roman forces. Those are all Magister Militum with some successor command models in there. The Lucas Spides, which I brought up before, white shields, there have been some arguments that the Tarentines were called that because they fought as Therophori. So I've painted myself a unit of Therophori with the Tarentine colors. I field them sometimes as raw hoplites and other times as spearmen in this army. The raw hoplites are allowed in the To the Strongest Pyrrhic class. So if I'm playing To the Strongest, that's what these guys are. And a few of them even have those white Theros. More for Southern Italy. We have some Samnites. These are from Newline Designs, and the Therophori are Roman Rorari from the Magister Militum ranges. Really hard to find, Italian style Theros spearmen that's not well armored, but this is them. So these are Newline Designs almost exclusively. One model here that's an Old Glory Italian figure. The rest of them are Newline Designs Samnites. They have that really distinctive Samnite kind of teardrop shield. Can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's very Theros-like, although it's only symmetric on the y-axis. And then almost finally, we have a unit of Tarentine or Elapgian light infantry. And they, again, have those primary colors that I use for Tarentines and for the allied Southern Italy troops. And then we have Lucanians, or, just insert Oscan people here fighting as javelin men. These are formed up, so the Samnites I have is in a more skirmish formation. These are a little more formed up. They've got small shields. Again, the color patterns very Tarentine. These are Old Glory Italian allies with Magister Militum command and one Pendraken command model. Okay, so that is the Tarentine command of my To the Strongest Pyrrhic army. And now we just have the other kind of random stuff that Pyrrhus uses from time to time throughout his career. Just a moment to clear these out of here. Get into a nice safe spot while I continue. All right, so would not be Pyrrhus in Italy without these bad boys. 2 units of Indian elephants, cheat a little. These are Pendraken African elephants, but they have the Hoda, and I personally like these better. Like I think these are the best sculpts out there for elephants with like a full complement and a tower, because the towers on some of the ranges, like Magister comes to mind, are just huge and just they just don't feel quite as realistic. This tower also resembles I believe there are some coins struck right around this period of time that are believed to be coins showing what Pyrrhus's elephants might have looked like, or maybe Hannibal's elephants, and from side profile it looks just like that. So I really like that about them as well. I've got the 2 units. I previously used these in my Carthaginian army. I don't any longer unless I need them in a pinch. Now these are exclusively for Pyrrhus. Some light troops for Pyrrhus. We have some Cretan archers. Very basic paint job. No miniature shields for them. And Rhodian slingers. I didn't paint them as like a distinct Rhodian style. I just painted them as matching the Pyrrhic forces. Some Galatians. He used some Gallic mercenaries in Macedon. This was a fun little unit to paint. These are, all three of these units are completely Magister Militum. These in particular are some of my favorite Magister Militum sculpts. Actually, right there, there's a Pendraken. There's a Pendraken guy right there. So it's not exclusive, but it's almost all Magister Militum. These were really fun units to do, and I really like Pyrrhic's color scheme. Some nondescript Macedonian cavalry or Epirot cavalry, light cavalry. Some a little more elite. I play these as Thessalian elite light cavalry. They've got the Thessalian sun hats on. A lot of times what I do is I swap the Thessalian formed cavalry with the Tarentine light cavalry in the army list, and I play my Tarentine light from the army list using these guys, and then that formed unit of Tarentines are the Thessalian entry. Doesn't really matter, it's just what you call them. Some Illyrian light troops. There's really a lack of Illyrian models out there for a lot of scales. 10mm of course included, but I thought these guys had an Illyrian enough look to them. And I gave them a nice little, this is like the first time I did a vertical stripe on a tunic, and I love using those. Used them pretty consistently ever since. And these last guys were actually a mistake I had in my research. I don't know what I was reading, but I was reading something and I thought that it was Thracians who were down by the river who started, who ended up starting the Battle of Heraclea. So I painted them. I was wrong, but I have this really colorful unit of Thracians, and they don't really fit with most of my other armies, so I still use them here. Although in the future, they'll probably end up in either my Persians or my Seleucids. And then finally, I'll show off some of the characters I have. I have Random Musician, because there used to be in Kings of War, used to take musician heroes. Right, there's a Standard Bearer with a Pyrrhic symbol. Another Random Musician. Now we get into the good stuff. So this guy would be a Tarentine subordinate general and advisor. Very, very Greek style, older, experienced, maybe fought in previous campaigns when either Spartan or Epirot generals had come to southern Italy. Speaking of one of those, we've got Cleonymus, who was a Spartan mercenary general who came to southern Italy and fought a campaign. Obviously, he didn't fight with Pyrrhus, but I have the models that I can use most of the army interchangeably. And then finally, big man himself, Pyrrhus. These models, let's see if I can get a good one of Pyrrhus. These models are all Magister, every one of them, these hero models. Magister does a really, really incredible job with their heroes and command models. They do these vignettes. They have like cool little details, like a little general's desk and stuff, and a little map. It's just really, really a ton of variety. And in 10mm, you don't see a lot of variety of sculpts. So where Magister shines is in that character models. I think Pendraken, who made these guys here from their older range, where Pendraken excels is for rank and file, just really well proportioned, really well sculpted, typically. Sometimes they have some things that are a little questionable historically, or just really weird ways to hold a spear. But for the most part, I find their unit sculpts to be the best. And then Newline, makes the Thracians, what they're best at is certainly not sculpting, certainly not variety. What they're best at is being the only ones who make a bunch of sculpts. So I love you, Newline, but it's not your sculpting that I love. So they're the only ones who make Thracians in this kind of stereotypical Thracian peltist way that you'd imagine them. And hey, that's a business model. They're the only ones who make Samnites as well, so you know, go after it. Okay, so that's it for my Pyrrhic forces. Thanks for sticking around, and we'll be doing more showcases soon.